Thank you all for joining our OPW podcast, The Digital Evolution. I'm your host, Lisa Maloney, and today we'll hear from key leaders across OPW and Dover who will share how we are using new digital tools to transform our businesses and customer experience in the age of Industry 4.0. Today's panelists are Garesh Junja, SVP and Chief Digital Officer for Dover, Keith Moy, VP of Marketing and BD for OPW, Todd Klitsky, Technical Service and Parts Sales Manager for OPW Vehicle Wash Solutions, Randy Robinson, National Sales and Engineering Manager for OPW Fluid Transfer Solutions, and Vincent Ong, Commercial Digitization Manager for OPW. Welcome, everyone. The topics we'll cover today include how retail fueling has evolved over the last 10 to 15 years, Dover Digital and how it is partnering with Dover OpCos, how the digital evolution is helping small businesses such as car washes, Civic Connect and how it is changing the way fuel is transported, and SmartLink, along with other digital tools launching across Dover. Before we get started, let's take a quick look at where manufacturing began and where it is today. The first factory was launched at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution in the late 18th century. What started out with mechanized looms and later steam power evolved into assembly lines and the ability to mass produce. With the advent of computers came the ability to automate certain aspects of manufacturing. Now we have entered the Industry 4.0 and have harnessed the ability to collect, store, and analyze data through cloud services, as well as successfully streamline information to increase efficiency and accuracy, as well as provide better services and products. With that, let's hear from our panel. Keith, can you please share some examples of how you've witnessed the retail fueling industry evolve over the last 10 to 15 years?
Sure, I'd be happy to, Lisa. First of all, I'm excited to be here in the first OPW podcast, and Lisa, appreciate you pulling this together. And so to respond to your prompt, Lisa, I've been working in and around the retail fueling industry for almost 15 years. And I've seen it evolve in many ways. I'll do my best to highlight some of the things I've witnessed. In summary, customers are looking for more integrated, compliant, and data-driven solutions to make their businesses more robust. This is a common theme that has accelerated over the last several years. As I think about my time in the industry, historically, many of the solutions were discrete component-driven solutions. However, a combination of increasing regulatory stringency, speed and quality of design and installation, along with more data-driven requirements are becoming the norm. From our standpoint, there are several areas I can highlight that demonstrate these emerging themes, such as, number one, the need to have integrated solutions has driven us from more component-based to system-based solutions. A couple of examples there are in retail fueling, our loop system, which essentially the factory is pre-assembling components into a system for the customer. It eliminates installation error and results in faster installations so a customer can produce more sites in the same amount of time. A second example would be hanging hardware kits where we pre-assemble the nozzle, the swivel, the breakaway, and the hose for applications for stage 2 decommissioning, and that's also become a recent trend as well. Number two, environmental sensitivities leading to more robust designs and testing capabilities. And we've seen that over the last several years as the regulatory requirements have become more stringent. And we have several solutions there that we've developed, which really lend themselves to helping customers through this. Number one, FiberLite products in general are the most watertight solution on the market. Number two, from an innovation standpoint, we have developed testing ports on our spill buckets. This allows customers to more easily meet new testing requirements. And also testable overfill valves. This allows the valve to be inspected without removal, making it much easier on the customer to meet the inspection requirements that are now required. Number three, and we'll hear more about this as we go through the podcast, more data requirements have led to more information gathering from forecourt and car wash something we may hear referred to as IoT, Internet of Things, or connected products. So when we look at car wash kiosks as an example, we see the aggregating of customer loyalty and user experience for our users. Also, they're looking at uptime, efficiency, and consumable analytics, which are being required to be extracted from the car wash and be delivered to the customer in a way that they can manage their sites better. In addition, we hear a lot about cloud solutions. A lot of our consumer products leverage the cloud, and that's also true in a lot of our emerging solutions that our customers use to interface with us. Our sister company, Dover Fueling Solutions, for example, has site monitoring as well as wet stock management products that allow their customers to better manage their logistics, their inventory, as well as to determine when their site needs any kind of outside support or maintenance. And then finally, number 4, we also see the trend of increased productivity, which is leading to more self-sufficient solutions. And we've seen some recent developments from our side to help address this need. One, which we'll hear more about on this call, is distributor tools such as SmartLink, which is our new order management tool. And also we see customers using technology to pull and control sites, whether that's for a car wash or for the forecourt in retail fueling. So all these things have resulted in, the change in our industry over the years. In summary, change is a natural part of the growth of our industry, just like it is in other industries. And OPW has proven to be uniquely positioned to not only keep up with the pace of change, but help to define what's next. It's really been exciting to be here to see this change over time, and I'm sure that we're positioned to take advantage of, all of the changes as they occur in the future, and to be there to support our customers as their needs evolve. So thanks, Lisa, for the time, and I'll push it back to you.
Great, thank you, Keith. You talked a bit about SmartLink and about how we're developing tools out there, ways for our customers to interact with us. And Gurish, I was wondering if you could share some of that stuff that I know Dover Digital has worked with the different operating companies to find those solutions and push them out a lot more quickly.
Sure. Hey, thanks, Lisa. Thanks, everybody, for having me on this webinar. I'm very excited about this topic. As you know, we are in interesting times. I mean, essentially, especially in the last few weeks, businesses and consumers have been given a massive opportunity to try out and get accustomed to a digital work and home life. This includes everything we do at business, which is prospecting for new customers, researching both suppliers and buyers, the actual act of buying and selling and working and collaborating with our partners, our employees, and our customers. So as we go through a customer life cycle with any one of our opcos, whether it starting at prospecting all the way into purchase and service and monitoring and back again to buying a new product, at each part of that customer life cycle, digitization is having a massive impact on our customer base, and as a result, on our ability to serve them well. And we are working with many of our opcos as Dover Digital to help accelerate the opcos in that journey, including what we are doing with OPW here. So I'll start off with prospecting. So, starting off with prospecting, oftentimes in industrials, even in retail fueling, prospecting has been done with large conferences, with in-person meeting, working with, on-site with distributors. Just in the few weeks, we have seen that change dramatically. We have had to transform our way of interacting with our customer over Zoom meetings, over other digital mechanisms that are available to us. So to give you a couple of specific examples that are very fresh in my mind because they happened in the last few weeks, we have worked with PSG and DDP to create email campaigns that are highly topical at this time, targeted towards some 100,000 plus customer base, which are prospects, trying to get them to be interested in the products, come seek that information from a digital microsite where they provide their information that we can follow up on with them and try to convert them into a customer through our distribution. That, to me, is the future of prospecting in the industrial space and in retail fueling. Similarly, moving on to the next step in the buying cycle, when you look at the search and the quote part that the customer does once they are in the market and they're looking for a product. Now, this process, again, more and more starts online. Customer starts to research, plan, design, site products, operations online. And there's a term that Bain Consulting has coined. Consultants do a good job coining terms, and that's contactless business. By that, what I mean is not that there is no person talking to the client or the customer. It is that a lot of the work in that searching and quoting has been done by the customers themselves before they call for clarifying some questions before they actually place the order. So to give you an example of Dover Opcos, when you look at Dover Precision Components business, InproSeal, with them, with Dover Digital and InproSeal, we launched something called a parametric search, which allows the customer, in this case a distributor, to self-identify themselves, the vertical that they are really asking for the seal on, and to provide technical parameters for the seal that narrows down the search to few specific seals that InproSeal provides that would satisfy customers' need. Similarly, our Tulsa Winch Group, which produces winches, we are working as Dover Digital closely with them to accelerate their journey to enable their distributors to fully configure, price, and quote their product themselves, and then seek out sales and customer service help only in the most sophisticated of the product cases rather than the norm. So, similarly, I can go through examples in support and in monitoring, but, closest to OPW is the parts. We just released, working closely with PDQ, the PDQ parts store, which has had a very significant uptake from their distribution base. Similarly, we have done that with CPC, and we are working on that with ESG and PSG and a few other opcos. And I do believe that parts acquisition is the easiest thing to start the digitization journey because customer typically knows discreetly what they're looking for. And finally, in this world where we have all been forced to be indoors for a long period of time, monitoring and remote support become really important to keep business operations going. So we have worked with many of our operating companies for remote monitoring operations of their products, and I'll show you a few examples soon, which use the benefits of data collection, of IoT, of cloud, of artificial intelligence, and puts together solutions that allow the customer to remotely be able to understand what's happening at their site, and in some cases, be able to mitigate those issues if they are going to arise in a predictive fashion. And finally, for support, we have had our technical support people fly out to sites in order to support customers, which is great. I mean, that provides a great touch point with our customers. But the question sometimes we need to ask is that the place where we start, or can we start in a more digital interactive way? And we are experimenting with a few opcos that are trying to do video support remotely, especially for their international clients, in order to try and narrow down the actual problem and whether that requires somebody to fly over to the site or if it can be solved by shipping a part, as an example. So example here is of DDP. Now with that, I'll talk a little bit about innovation in the products themselves. So I talked a lot about innovations in the buying cycle that are aided by digitization at every step of that buying journey. But in many cases, we are working with operating companies to make the product itself more digital. So I'll give a few examples, one of which happens to be in OPW. We launched a new product working, VSG, in this case, Vehicle Services Group, launched a new product for ADAS calibration. This is aftermarket calibration of the sensors that are there in cars that we drive these days. There has not been an ADAS calibration product in the aftermarket till this new solution was introduced to the market. It's remotely operable, so a remote ASC certified technician can provide the calibration. And that takes care of a significant amount of certified trainer limitation and gaps that many of the collision shops have today in the marketplace. And here we brought together partners, we brought together IoT technology from Dover Digital, we brought together sensors and put the solution together in a multi-entity kind of collaborative way. And it's something that was very new to Dover, very new to VSG, and we're very excited about it because we are getting significant traction in the market, especially from the large OEMs who want to now have their products be repairable at these collision shops, their sensors be repairable after they're off warranty. I'll give you a couple of quick other examples. The one in OPW, of course, is Silver Connect, and I believe Randy would go through it in detail, so I won't touch upon that here. But in a retail fueling space, I want to talk about DFS. So DFS is a company, as you know, also in retail fueling with a large amount of customers at those retail gas stations. And they are increasingly making digital the core part of their message of their products to their customers. So many of the DFS products now are connected, and many of them are collecting data in a central cloud environment. And for some of those scenarios, such as for SIR compliance, EPA mandated compliance that many of these retail gas stations have to go through, we have created artificial intelligence model working closely with DFS that are getting deployed in their environment and that allow for the DFS to go after the largest possible underground tanks, bigger than any other competitors that are out there in the space, and address that marketplace in a unique way. And to close out, I'll talk about another big example in the Dover family, ESG. So as you know, Environmental Services Group sells into waste management space. They have some very big customers that are Fortune 100 companies, Republic and Waste Management, to name a few, but also others like Waste Connections. And they moved from a concept of selling trucks to really selling reduction in cost per tonnage for the waste hauler. With the combination of trucks, the digitization around trucks, the artificial intelligence, there were some of the places where we helped them put that together, and the entire after-sales service. So they look at the entire life cycle of the customer's spending on a per ton of truck, and through combination of physical and digital means, address how ESG can be the best partner for them in reducing that cost. And it's profoundly impacted their business in a very positive way. So we're working with many of these opcos, like I mentioned, in these use cases and others. And to kind of close out, I would say that in the digitization of our customer experience, which I do believe is applicable regardless of the vertical we are in, regardless of the specific product and the specific set of distribution customers we sell into. We are, Dover, both as corporate and along with opcos, is investing heavily to transform that front office. And there is several new features on the Dover Commerce platform that we are introducing in addition to what's already live serving the OPW customer base. That would allow us to expand those capabilities to broader set of customers and broader set of channels. In this time of COVID, where employee health and safety is a paramount concern for many of us here, I did want to highlight something which will be of interest to everyone. VSG at their Madison facility has done this outstanding piece of work where they have engineered a face shield using one of their laser cutters and are making it available to all of Dover's workforce, so we can be all safer in our work environments, and they're making it available free of cost. So I just wanted to kind of give a big shout out to the team that put it together. This is the team of Jim Tarleen, Andy Small, Bill Wilson, Bob Leadgable, and Joshua Jensen. Thank you to them. And I hope that you would find use of this capability they're making available.
That is fantastic, and what a great use of digital tools in this current age. So you did talk a bit, Garesh, about the car wash business. So now would be a great time for Todd, if you could tell us a bit about When people think about car washes, they don't really recognize the kind of innovation that has transformed the way that owner operators do business today. So I'd love to have you share with the team the tools that are in place for your end users and how you use digital tools to stay connected.
Thanks, Lisa, and thanks for inviting me to the first OPW podcast. If you go to my first slide, there is, so data is so much available out to car wash owners nowadays and car wash operators. It's always been there, but it was a kind of a manual process years ago. Nowadays, we're able to push this stuff up to the cloud, and a lot of the data they're collecting is very good information along, with information like how they're currently doing with sales revenue today, how were they doing last year compared to this date. Also, it's looking at what type of products or what type of car wash packages their customers are buying. Are they buying, it's car wash is very seasonal. So maybe it's their top wash package that's selling very well today versus their bottom package. And they don't want to discount those, top packages because they're making top dollars with that. So there's so much data that is out there being pushed up there that allows them to make good business decisions because they can see the trends that the data is collected. They can look at the data, look at the trends, and compare this year to last year, compare today to yesterday or last week. And it really allows them to look at what is the best way to, run their business and make those good decisions by using that data. Some of the data they're also getting is how are customers paying? Are they buying a subscription to a car wash? Are they buying at the pump? Am I in a convenience store owner? I might look at that and say, hey, 80% of my sales are coming through my pumps. I want to make sure I advertise that, promote the car wash out at the pump, maybe offer promotionals and stuff like that to keep driving that sale so people continue to buy out at the pump there. So there's so much data that they can come back and look at it and really understand where they're growing their revenue, and they can definitely look at that and look at trends. Look at how they're doing this year versus last year to date. Are they, compare this year to date to last year to date? So it's a lot easier to get this information and really start to look at it and look at how to make the right business decisions out there. If we kind of flip over to the next slide, data is so much more real time. Like I said, this data, a lot of this data was out there, but it was a manual process. They had to physically either go to the site and pull it, or they had to remotely get into it. And it wasn't data that they were collecting, real time. It was data that was a day or two old. So it's very hard to make realistic decision, good business decisions off of that data because sometimes it was out of date. So today, the data that we're pulling, they can get a count to how they're doing right now. On the right-hand side is a mobile app that's out there that allows you to show you exactly your car count, your sales totals as the day is going along. So it gives you real-time data to understand that are you busy? I can look at weather patterns. I can look what's going on. Do I need to do some type of promotion today to maybe boost my sales? So it really gives them great information to look at how their revenue is going for the day. And also there is a lot more data from the equipment. The equipment is more connected out there than it has been in the years past. So we know when the car wash is open and we know when it's closed. So it's a great way for them as remote operators. Maybe they have a remote car wash site, or maybe they have multiple sites and can't be at both sites. It's a great tool for them to understand what is going on at other sites that they may not be at. The other side of this is not only can they pull this data and look at it, for the car wash site, but it gives them so much more information out there, like in the graph that shows the weather pattern out there. They can see how things, how they're doing with the weather at that site. So taking this sales data, they can look at what their trends are, and they can look at the forecast for the next couple of days. And they can start to look at past history to see how busy they normally are during this period of time. A perfect example was if I have 3 days of rain or snow or mixed weather at this time of year, generally if my forecast is 3 days of, sunny weather or, clear skies and stuff like that, I can go back and look at my sales trend. Am I normally after that type of trend, am I going to see my peak sales? And if I am, would I want to do a promotion at that point? Would I rather kind of keep that promotion, not offer that promotion and maximize my sales revenues by, maximizing those 3 upcoming days? And I know I have a forecast for good weather like that. So there's so much data out there that, you can look at, one site versus another site. I can see how promotions work. If I offer this promotion at this car wash site, did it, next city over, did I get the same type of effects on, that with that promotion? Or maybe that's more of a regional thing where I'm not going to get the same type of sales on that promotion. Those customers are looking for a little bit different offer out there. So that kind of information that we can push up to the cloud and allow them to get this type of data really helps them to understand their business, but also make great decisions and good business decision making.
Great. Yeah, those are great examples of how we're using digital tools to really market product, Todd.
Thanks,
Those are
Lisa.
great. Yeah, thank you. Now, Randy Robinson with Civicon, he's here to talk a bit about Civic Connect, and we're going from kind of seeing the operator owner instance of using digital marketing tools to what do you do if you have a fleet of trucks that have to deliver fuel? So Randy, we'd love to hear about how your industry is using digital technology today.
Yes, thank you, Lisa. Yeah, so Civic Connect has been a fun project. It goes hand in hand. Our core market is gasoline transportation, so those gasoline tankers that you see going down the road. And what Civic Connect does is it takes that information from the trailer through the cloud, and we're able to share critical information or alerts about the performance of that trailer, the driver, the delivery station, any accidents that might have taken place. So real quick, I probably need to explain a little bit of the hardware that gets mounted on the tanker, the gas tanker. Civic Command is what we've done is we've taken the old analog systems off the trailer and we replaced them with a digital system. So what this platform does is it's a smart platform. So when the trailer's being loaded or unloaded, or when valves are opened or closed, the digital system basically can store that data and transmit it through Civic Connect. So we control the overfill protection system. So each trailer has an overfill system that makes sure the trailer's safe during loading, that the trailer's grounded, the overfill protection sensors are working. The trailers are also pneumatically operated. So the system also controls the pneumatics. So when valves have air or if there's an air decay, it also has crossover prevention capability. So when they're offloading the trailer, the system is looking at what fuel was loaded on each compartment and was it offloaded in the correct underground storage compartment. And the last one is like a retain prevention. So since the system is smart enough to know when there's liquid on the trailer, not only if there's liquid, what type of liquid, all that product should be offloaded. If it's not, it's called a product retain. And so what has happened in that case is fuel has been left on the trailer, maybe by accident or just somebody being in a rush and not offloading the product all the way. Well, that can cause a couple problems with, a shortage of the delivery. Maybe some of the more critical ones is that fuel, if it gets brought back to the terminal, they could potentially load what's called load on top of that. So they're actually loading another fuel possibly into that compartment, and it could run a risk of an overfill or just fuel quality issues. So with the smart Civic Command, that digital platform, we're monitoring all the transactions that are taking place at the loading facility and the unloading facility. And then we take the Civic Connect and we're able to send that up to the cloud and send like the dispatch or their fleet maintenance manager critical alerts. So something that a good example would be if the overfill system wasn't working correctly. The driver may not know that. And so with Civic Connect, what we're able to do is set up an alert where we could email or text message a maintenance manager or dispatch to let them know that, hey, this trailer has an issue and it's not going to be able to make its next load. It can offload, but it's going to have an issue with its next delivery. So with that in mind, so what the fleets are able to use this for, really what it does is it mitigates their downtime, and it does that two ways. So if there's a accident, driver mistake getting ready to take place, like a retain or a cross drop, that really causes a lot of problems for these fleets. If they cross dropped fuel, then they're going to have an issue with pumping the fuel out of the underground tank, and that retail site might be out of commission. They got to dispatch another trailer to offload it. So by preventing some of those, driver errors, if you will, from taking place, that keeps that equipment up and running. The other way we do that is with, alerts, where if we're monitoring things like air decay, we're monitoring things like probe life and the grounding resistance. So if we see any of those type of those situations where we think something's getting ready to fail, we'll actually give advance notice. So certainly we can tell somebody when it failed, but we're also trying to tell them, hey, we detect an issue, and maybe you can fix this issue before that trailer actually goes down. Some of the other stuff that it does is, since it's able to monitor what's going on, we can track the driver efficiency, the trailer efficiency. We can even track how well this delivery site receives the fuel. So it's really kind of a game changer for us. It takes us from being, kind of a valve analog systems to a true full system solution here. So
Great.
yeah, and I also wanted to mention Grisha's team. They helped us on the digital side, the Dover digital team. We partnered with them on this solution. So we really couldn't have got here without their support.
That's fantastic. Yeah, great example. So, Vincent, we've talked a lot about different ways that we've either put tools in our end user customers' hands to make more money or ensure that product delivery is happening the way we intend it. Garesh brought up earlier the Smart Link and how OPW is rolling that out. And I was hoping you could spend a minute telling us more about what Smart Link is and maybe any other tools you've seen across other Dover opcos.
Yes, so SmartLink is what we are branding our OPW, our new OPW portal. So right now, SmartLink is deployed across 5 different business units, and we're working to expand it across more business units throughout this year. Right now, the functionality that we're pushing with SmartLink is the ability for customers to manage their accounts and their orders online through this portal, and as well as for some of the business units to order certain products through SmartLink as well. We are working with Dover Digital very closely in terms of expanding this capability. So in the future, we plan to have it be a more complete customer experience through SmartLink. So we plan to offer things such as configure price quote, product information, some training videos, and as well as ability to initiate RMA claims, for example, and a few other functionalities that are more specific to certain business units through SmartLink. In terms of other tools, I've experienced deployed across Dover. So Girish has given a very good overview already in terms of the customer-facing ones. So I'm not going to touch on those again. But in terms of internal tools I've seen across Dover, one thing I think we've take for granted now that I think should be considered a widely adopted digital tools are things such as Skype, Microsoft Teams, and even just SharePoint. I think when I started with Dover, it wasn't a given yet that most people had access to SharePoint. But I think now it's becoming more and more of a thing that's we use to collaborate with each other. I think it's been very useful, especially during these times of when we're all quarantined and working from home, but we're still able to collaborate and work on the same files, and not worry about emailing each other the same files and which is the latest version by being able to leverage tools such as SharePoint. One tool that I've seen used across Dover as well and within OPW is Smartsheet, which is, I know various teams across Dover and across OPW use to be able to just collaborate better as well.
Great. Those are great examples. Before we wrap things up, I just want to see if anyone has any comments they'd like to add now that we've heard each other's use cases and heard some more about how new digital tools are being deployed out across the operating companies.
Hey, Lisa, this is Todd. I just would add that with the Smart Link, we are one of the OPW companies that rolled it out to our distributors. And the feedback we've gotten from our distributors is they really like it. The goal was, we used it in our aftermarket part sales, and it really gave them the flexibility to do business with us a lot easier. They can easily go online, they can order parts, they can track their history, they can track the shipment of that order. So if we're drop shipping it to a customer, they know when the customer is going to get it. So they can provide that level of service to their customers that they've been looking to do. In the past, it's always been kind of a manual process to get that information. And this has made it a lot easier for them. They're also able to, look up their order history. What parts are we ordering the most of, and help them really look at when they're doing their stocking levels to make sure they're ordering the right parts so they can continue to support their customers. So the feedback from our channel has been very positive with SmartLink.
Yeah, hey Lisa, I'd just like to add this, Girish, the Teams, our internal collaboration mechanisms such as WebEx, and they all make a lot of collaborative activity possible that was not earlier possible. And we continue to, on the Dover IT side, release new capabilities, hopefully making Teams universal across Dover. That's the point of rolling it out at this point. The one thing I would like to highlight, building on what Todd said, there is a new capability we are looking to launch around e-procurement. So many of the tier one OEMs that buy products from us, they typically have e-procurement capabilities for their suppliers. By that, I mean, directly from their ERP, they can place orders on our environment if we are integrated into their environment through technologies such as Ariba or Coupa. We are doing that today for ESG with Republic and later in the year with Waste Management. And the reason I wanted to bring it up is especially in retail fueling, which has some large OEM type customers, e-procurement offers an opportunity to drive a lot of transactional overhead out, what Deloitte calls bad costs, out of the system and make it really seamless for the customer. And finally, one of the additional capabilities that is soon to be coming from the platform to all of OPW and SmartLink capability is CSR's ability to take over the cart and close the order or complete the order on behalf of the customer, or place the order directly on behalf of the customer, which is another ask we have heard through OPW as other opcos. So in listening to others, I thought this will be a useful addition.
Oh.
Lisa, well, I'll just add one thing that, this whole digitization strategy we've seen it emerge across all the business units, in our strat planning over the last several years. And I think as individual business units, our ability to invest in the tools, we just don't have the scale individually. So and that's one reason we had Girish online today with us, is to demonstrate that not only across OPW, but across all of Dover, we see this emerging need because it's a trend in the world, not just a trend in the industries we play in. So it's really great that Dover has recognized this need and has chosen to invest a significant amount of resources in this area that has allowed OPW to leverage and has allowed us the benefit of scale across all of Dover to develop these solutions that we're seeing today, and are developing better solutions at a faster rate of speed at a lower cost than we could have done ourselves.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Keith. And thank you to all of you for joining our first podcast. And thank you to all of our listeners.